Welcome, friends. I want to talk about the three biggest problems I see with this game, and I'm not saying like there's a ton of problems in this game, but these are three major problems that I think, if were fixed, would improve the game's life a lot and help make everything much more enjoyable. Hey, Mara. And so the first one that I wanted to talk about was just the fact that Territory Wars isn't in a great spot right now. Jeez, you're so needy. You look at Territory Wars, and this obviously is my friend's account because I have something to show you guys a little later. But you look at Territory Wars, there's not really anything in it, like any crystals, anything crazy. Like, yeah, we get some materials, but it just needs a revamp. We were promised new maps besides Jakku forever ago. Never got them. It's just overall a very stale game mode considering what they've done for Grand Arena to make it truly something we love. And so adding in new backgrounds at the bare minimum, going a little bit farther with the banners I think would help a lot, because right now, the banners are pretty basic, but make it similar to Grand Arena, and I think the banner pinching would be a lot more fun and make things a lot more competitive. And then throw some crystals in it, throw some reasoning to get in there, because like unless you're in a top end guild, you're really not getting much, and that's a struggle. And so I think that game mode could use quite a bit of love. The second one that I want to talk about is actually the beginning of the game. I don't know how many of you remember, I don't know how many of you bought hyperdrive bundles or how many of you just played through the game, but I have started 2 free-to-play accounts since I've hit level 85, and I have abandoned both. And it's not because, I'm not having fun with the game, it's because it's such a slog and you can't access things you need to access. Like, you hit like level 70 and you're like, okay, I know how to play this game. I know how everything works. I just need to get this thing, but I can't farm it until I'm level 78. And so I have to sit here, hoarding these materials instead of spending them, and like not being able to use any of my energy efficiently. And it's just a struggle just from 1 to level 85. It's so long. They've taken strides with, you can now go to the web store and you can get sim tickets from there, but 1 to level 60 is a pain so bad if you didn't have access to that. Like, let's say you were under the age of 13, you were playing, or 15 or whatever it is, 17, I can't remember, but under a certain age you can't access the web store. If you're under a certain age, you're screwed. And so if you set up your account and you're like playing this as a 16-year-old, you might be screwed out of using the web store. And so like things like that is just, it's a struggle. Like half the amount of time that it takes to get through the tutorial, because that's all that level 1 through 85 is nowadays, it's just a tutorial. Because honestly, the rest of the game all happens after you hit level 85, because you can't farm anything until you hit level 85. You can't get Watt ready geos until you're level 84. Like, you can't farm Bosk until I think level 83, or maybe it's 85. Like, there's so much that you're missing out on, and like, I get they're trying to make money with their hyperdrive bundles, but you're losing people that are playing the game because they're just giving up, because it's just more and more slog of the same thing. They don't get to access the new content. They don't get cool things like, the Grand Arena and things like that. And like, there's not a lot of guilds that are looking for new players. It's, always a struggle to find a good guild for new players at all. It's just overall, there needs to be a revamping of the level 1 to level 85. How that goes, I think there's a lot of ways they could go with it, but regardless, I think they need to shorten the time that you spend getting to level 85, because it genuinely is painful. Like, when I'm playing now, I hop on and I enjoy my game. When I play my free-to-play, I hop on, I do my dailies, and I leave, because I'm like, there's nothing else I can do in this game. Like, all the events are locked, everything I don't have access to, and the characters I would need to farm to get access to events, I can't farm anyways. And so it's just like, I'm just sitting here doing nothing. And so I think they need to revamp that hardcore. But the third one, this one I think is kind of the most important one, and a lot of people brought it up. we need a sandbox mode. And I want to talk a bit about sandbox modes in general and some ideas on how to do it. There's a lot of ways to do this. A viewer actually brought this up, and I thought this was a really good idea. This is actually the whole point of this video was it's a member requested video. So if you become a member, you get to request videos each week. Whichever one has the highest votes on our member poll is the one that I do the next week. And so that's this week, is the member video. And he brought up Galactic War being redone, and I absolutely agree. I don't think I can check on it right now because it's in between, but you look at these characters, they're like Gear 7 to Gear 10. Like, there's no Gear 12s, there's no relics. Like, maintain the reset war and sim, like, 100%. Allow people to sim it. Like, I get it, you know. I don't want to play through Galactic War every day. I really don't. It kills me that I have to do it on my free-to-play account. Another thing that I think should be changed at the beginning of the game. But regardless, keep the simming. So if people want to, they can just sim it. But up the characters in this. Give us a whole bunch of teams at like Relic 5. So that way we can test out teams and be like, are my Imperial troopers at a point where they can actually be good? You know, am I at a point where, you know, I'm going to outspeed things? Is this new character going to be good? You can have some stuff to test it on. Granted, it's limited testing, there's only so much of a table, but like, I'd be able to test some stuff and get an idea of characters, because right now this is a worthless game mode once you hit level 80, and even pre-level 80, it's just a slog. If I could complete this, you know, 50 times on my free-to-play, and then they give me the ability to sim, I would love that, because at this point, I've done it like every single day, because I use a Phoenix team with Rex, so I have zero troubles just hitting full auto and then not touching this game mode again. I play it in the background while I do something else. So revamping this game mode, I think, would be a great idea to do a simple thing to make us a true mode where we can play around and get an idea of, you know, how our teams are doing or how new characters work. And also just old characters. There's so much that's not known about this game, and it blows me away. Like, a couple of years ago, we finally figured out the whole turn order thing. Like, should people go in certain slots? Is that important? That was something that we didn't know for years and years and years, and then they added an event that made it so that way the first ally who attacked would get Death Mark. And so then we could actually test things and be like, okay, so who gets Death Mark? And then we swap the characters and like, oh, now this person's getting Death Mark. So it does matter where you put people in a lineup. And so it wasn't until a couple of years ago that we found that kind of stuff out, because we don't have a way to test these things. We also don't have a way to test and be like, I would love if I could disable Zetas. I could disable relic levels. I've already gotten them, but if I could just disable them, not for Grand Arena, not for Territory Wars, but just for all of the PvE content. Because it would allow me to do things like, oh, you know, I can actually test to see how little Zetas I can use for this event, and then I can give it to you guys and be like, hey guys, I put in the work, here's what I found, and hopefully it helps. Instead, I have to, like, you know, go into the Ray event and keep testing, keep wasting tickets, instead of doing it with my best mods, my best everything, and then going back and, like, after I finish the event and do everything and I haven't wasted anything, I can then go and be like, oh, I'll take off some of the relic levels, or I'll take off some of the Zetas, and we'll kind of find the perfect way to do this for other people, so that way they don't suffer as much as I did. And so it would just help a ton. It's just the ability to do that even outside of PvE content, or outside of PvP content. Like, I get it, we don't want to cause people to do certain metas where they have like really weak characters or anything. Like, it's not likely, but it's a possibility. I get not wanting to touch PvP content at all, but give us an ability, even in just in like the journey guide. It would be super, super nice. But like another thing is just giving us like a PvP game mode where we can like activate Omicrons and that kind of thing. Just challenge our friends, however you want to do it. I'm gonna pull this up right now. So we got this other game pulled up. I haven't played this game in, I want to say, a year maybe. This is Marvel Strike Force. This is the Marvel version of Galaxy of Heroes. It's a hero collector. It's not as well done as Galaxy of Heroes, in my opinion, and it has a very serious problem of you have to chase the meta because teams become obsolete very quickly. And so I have problems with this game. They recently added a hyperdrive bundle in the last year. Obviously, not like recently. The last year. It wasn't there when I was playing. But, you know, it has its problems. It has its upsides. I did enjoy my time playing this game. But something I loved was you could go into your alliance war, and so this is territory wars, basically. And you could have these fun little things where if there isn't a territory war going on, so there is going on right now, but if there isn't, you can go into your defenses and, like, let's head on over to my defenses. And, like, we'll go into this one. This guy right here has some teams on defense. And so I could come in here and I could practice against his teams and test it. And because we're in the game mode, it would activate the pieces that say, oh, only in territory wars, then it gets this. And so I'd be able to test different teams against it and kind of try it out and practice my counters, which was really, really nice and really cool. And I would encourage my guild back then to go in and test against things just so they could get an idea of how to counter different teams. They also have the ability just to challenge your friends, your alliance members in PvP, which is super nice. So you can go to your alliance members, you click on someone that's your friend or someone in your alliance, and you can, you know, have a little mini grand arena with them, basically. And it's actually, this is kind of cool. I would like this in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, but I don't think it's necessary, and honestly, I think it's more trouble than it's worth a lot of the times. But they do have a live, not grand arena, but live arena. And so, like, these are actually things where you're actually challenging them, and then you're going to go back and forth in the game, and you have a, like, it's kind of like a chess timer where you get 10 seconds for your turn, 10 seconds for their turn, but you're able to challenge your friends to these. And even just giving us this doesn't give us any rewards or anything, but just being able to challenge your friends will allow you to, you know, be like, oh, hey, I want to see how this Mon Mothma team interacts with Jabba the Hutt. If, you know, we can switch around these things and have them go against each other, maybe we can get something working. It would give us so much in that sense, and it doesn't have to give us anything. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, here's more crystals or anything. No, all I need is a way to test things, because we don't know so much about this game. We have to constantly guess, and you can see that because the meta shifts when someone discovers something. Someone discovers the Fennec Shand counter against Lord Vader, and all of a sudden there's a huge shift and Lord Vader's now worthless on defense, where we could have found that like day one with Fennec Shand if we had the ability to test, but instead we're all relying on people hoping for the best, or Arnold coming out with his character videos, which, you know, bless that guy. That guy's amazing for doing that, and we all really appreciate it. But like the ability to do that constantly without having to deal with, you know, him running out of attempts, and we could all be testing, that would be so nice. Like we could all find out how good the staff is at 3 stars without having to waste time trying to find someone to go up against. And so honestly, I think this is something that's really, really needed in the game. I know a lot of people have talked about it, but there's a couple ways that I could see it coming into the game. And even if it was just a difference to Galactic War, because Galactic War is a dead game mode, none of us play it. We just multi-sim it every time. It's not something that's important. And so just doing that, I think, would help a lot. You know, in Territory Wars, we could also have that same thing in Territory Wars, where, you know, you could go in and you could test your defense. And so you could set up a pretend defense, kind of like how you set up your GAC defense and just leave it. Set up your Territory War defense, and then you can go in and test against it and have your guys in your guild test against it and see how it goes. I think that would be amazing for just making this game mode even better as well. So just something to think about, just something that I wanted to bring up. There's not a ton in this game that I'd want to change, because honestly, I love the game. I have not very many problems with the game. You know, I've heard a lot of people talk about upping ships for how many shards you get, and I can understand people's ask about that. There's much less ships, but I definitely think they should, you know, 2-3-year-old ships should be accelerated, in my opinion. But regardless, either way, those were the big 3 for me. Fix Territory Wars, please fix the tutorial. And I think that we need some kind of sandboxy way to be able to do things. I don't care if we get any rewards for it. You know, give us an ability to challenge people in our guild. Give us some ability to test our territory war defense. Whatever it might be would help so much. Hopefully you guys liked this video. I know I've kind of just been moaning and complaining all video, but it's just something that I'm like, I could see a game that I'm like, I would absolutely love to just be making free-to-play accounts and just throwing a free-to-play account, especially with the Lightspeed bundles coming out. It makes free-to-play a lot less friendly. Like, I'd much rather just drop money on getting Lightspeed bundles. I'm sure that's what they want. But like, you gotta think of the new players they've never spent money on a game, and they're not going to spend money on a game unless they have a friend in the game. If you're wandering into this game and you're brand new, you want to get them into the game, and then eventually they'll spend money, most likely, because they'll hit that point. But if your tutorial is, you know, 3 months long and painful, no one's gonna stay long enough to spend money. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. What are some problems you have with the game, some improvements that you think could happen in these aspects? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you guys like this kind of video, please do subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.